Um, the officer just, the officer jumped up from behind the car, taking the plate off, and started and grabbed me and said something about, I thought I told you not to say fucking thing or to say anything. I'm like, what? And he grabbed me and started punching me, and we fell around the car, and at that point he must have hit me a couple more times. I don't know, I believe I went unconscious. Woke up, I was on the ground. And then I was still being hit and punched, and I was laying out on the ground. I remember coming to and asking one officer, the other officer, why is he letting him do this to me? And I was punched a couple more times. I was stomped in the head. Then I heard my girlfriend scream, and then I heard the one officer say, "All right." I was handcuffed at the time. All this was going on. When I woke up, I was handcuffed. And I heard her scream. They picked me up off the ground. Blood was everywhere. And I was put in a police car. One of the officers, not bothered, one officer came to the police car and I asked him, what was this for? Why did this happen? And he didn't know. He just held his head down. Couldn't figure out for him. So to me, it was just like he didn't know what happened. And he was just as much shocked at it as everybody else. So, sergeant came. He looked at me, called the ambulance, took me to Rochester General Hospital. From Rochester General Hospital, I was treated, somewhat not too good, for my opinion. Then I was taken to the county jail. She came, she bailed me out right then, and then we went to Strong Hospital. And from Strong Hospital, we stayed there for some hours, and they diagnosed me and said I had well, they didn't know about the broken bone in the arm. They said my elbow felt that it was fractured, my nose was fractured. I had multiple contusions on my head, a lot of bumps, and I think they may have diagnosed me then for brain concussion, fractured nose, my eyes were swollen, had bruises on the back of my legs. Basically, that was what happened. Went to court a couple of times. The charges was dismissed.
And just to add a couple facts, Dwayne suffered a closed head injury as a result of what happened here. So I think he gave you a general description of what happened. There are more details. But based on my investigation, my understanding of the factual situation, what we're alleging in the complaint was that Mr. Ivory was standing at the back of the vehicle with Officer Harris. And what happened is the vehicle was actually titled in Dwayne's name, but it was registered to his girlfriend. So his girlfriend wanted to remove the license plates off the vehicle. So what happened is Officer Baldoff went to the front of the vehicle with Mr. Ivory's girlfriend, and he was assisting her with taking that front license plate off. Mr. Ivory was standing at the back of the vehicle with Officer Harris, and what happened is Mr. Ivory calmly walked along the side of the vehicle and asked Officer Baldoff if one of the officers could go with him to his girlfriend's house to retrieve a TV set. And it was at that point that we alleged that Officer Baldoff reached out and grabbed Mr. Ivory's hand. Mr. Ivory then tried to pull back while Officer Baldoff started punching him in the head. So, from the facts that I understand them to be and what we're alleging is that Officer Baldoff continued punching Mr. Ivory multiple times in the head. Mr. Ivory stumbled across the front of the vehicle and was on the passenger side when Officer Baldoff took him down. And at that point, Officer Baldoff continued punching him in the head repeatedly, and which you can see on the video. And at that point, I guess Mr. Ivory's shirt kind of was over his head, so he really couldn't see a lot. But at that point, he was cuffed, and after he was cuffed, Officer Baldoff continued punching Mr. Ivory repeatedly in the head. Mr. Ivory then yelled out, and then we allege that Officer Baldoff stomped on Mr. Ivory's head with his foot. And then at this point, Mr. Ivory yelled out to Officer Harris, "Why are you letting him do this to me?" And then after more punches to the head, finally the beating stopped. At that point, Officer Baldoff then pulled Mr. Ivory up to his feet and brought him to the police vehicle. And at that point, an ambulance was called and he was brought to Rochester General Hospital for medical treatment. So,
just reading through this quickly, it says at the end that the city was negligent in their hiring of these two guys. I haven't gotten to the part, but it seems to insinuate that these guys have a history of violence.
that's what we will explore during discovery on the case. We have made those allegations. Yes, we have made the allegations, and we will explore them during discovery on the case. I can't sit here today and tell you these officers' histories. I don't have any personal knowledge concerning their histories. We've heard bits and pieces here and there. These are allegations in the complaint which will need to be proven.
Are there allegations? What I read specifically was that they should have researched who these guys were before they were hired. It seems to insinuate that you know something about them, but it's not in this complaint what their history is.
That's correct. We don't lay out the history in the complaint. We make general allegations, and then it's our burden to prove those allegations through discovery. You know, through the witnesses, through depositions. So,
Is your girlfriend, is she, are you guys still together, or does she,
Yes, we're still together.
has she testified, or she given a deposition or anything like that with regard to this case?
she has not given any depositions yet. My investigator did speak with her, and she did make clear that Mr. Ivory did not hit or punch her at any time, that he did nothing to provoke this attack, that he did not push or threaten either police officer, and he did nothing to deserve the type of treatment that he received from the Rochester police officers.
Why did she call the police if it seems odd that you guys were doing, going okay? Was there a need for police at that point, or how did that happen? Or did she?
I don't know when she called. I think she may have called them on her way there, maybe, or there while she was there outside. I might have been in the house, but they got there, and it wasn't actually no need for them. But she called them, and they was there, and they came. It was.
And obviously, if
I
a
don't know why she
relationship
might-
is, coming to an end, it can be an emotional thing for each person in the relationship. And why she called the police, who knows? But the fact is everything was under control, and there was no problem at all when the police arrived. Mr. Ivory and his girlfriend were getting along fine, and
Did you try to resist at all, or?
Not at all. No, not at all. None at all.
Dwayne, at some point, did the police tell you to stay in a particular spot, don't do something? Did you
No,
did you not do what they told you to do?
no, there was no need.
What goes through your mind when you're in the middle of something like this, which sounds like happened very quickly or came about very quickly?
I was when it happened, I was just shocked at what was going on, and then I realized this done got completely somewhere out of hand. How did it get there? I don't know. I don't know what was going on. I really don't. I can't say. I don't know. I just was shocked. That's what was going through my mind was what was going on. How did this happen? What is this? What is this?
Was there an internal investigation, and if so, what did the police come out with as far as that internal investigation?
To our knowledge, there was no internal investigation done here. I have another case that I've been working on, Benny War, and the professional standards section. Mr. War did give testimony to them, sworn testimony. We have not heard the outcome of that investigation, so internally, waiting 6-7 months for a decision there. I don't know if the Rochester Police have investigated this particular incident or not. I don't know.
Have you filed a complaint?
This complaint
For
in
the-
federal court.
But not a complaint
No.
with the police?
No.
You just figured it wasn't worth it
No.
considering
No.
what you dealt with?
No, no answer on the other case. Why would I expect an answer on this case?
How long were you in the hospital?
For a day,
Did your girlfriend stay with you the entire time?
yes.
Do you have any lingering effects, Ryan?
Yeah. I have PT, what is it?
Post-traumatic stress
Post-traumatic
disorder.
stress disorder, nasal problems. My shoulder still bothers me. It's got a broken bone in it. I think I have more back pain now, neck pains still. Going through therapy. Still going through therapy.
Can you think of, Dwayne, can you think of anything that would have provoked the police to handle you the way they did? Or the way you're alleging they did?
No. No.
Can you tell us, I'm sorry.
I think you probably wouldn't want to hear.
Can you tell us a little bit of the background? How old are you?
I'm 52 years old.
52? Are you, were you working at the time? Do you have, is this interrupted anything like that in your work, or you been able to?
Yeah, I was working on my property. I have property over here on East Main. That's my property where I live at. I'm rehabbing it. It's a 4-unit building.
As far, is that your employment as well, or do you rent that property?
Well, I'm on Social Security, but that's what I was doing. I was basically just working on the property.
Have you ever had any contact with those officers before?
No, no.
What did the police say you were doing, or what were you charged with?
I'm charged with resisting arrest. I was
And
charged with
harassment second.
Harassment second.
Yeah. The officer alleged that Mr. Ivory, I guess, pushed the officer trying to get to his girlfriend. That's what the allegation was on the harassment second. And it's our position that in the complaint we filed in federal court that those allegations are false, that they were fabricated in order to justify the arrest and to exonerate the officers from their actions.
You pointed out when we spoke that while you acknowledge that it is pretty dark, the actual violent interaction between the officers, Mr. Ivory, was sort of dark and unclear, but the allegation that the officer made about his behavior is pretty clear on there, that he did not act aggressively or push anybody or anything. It seems like he just walked up to him.
Yeah, upon my viewing of the video, it was very clear that Mr. Ivory was calm and walked very slowly up towards the front of the vehicle and did not charge the officer. I mean, it's very clear that that did not happen.
Just curious, the footage, that's your camera? That surveillance camera is your camera?
Yes.
You have that just for security purposes around that?
Yes, there's been like a number of break-ins over there where I've called officers over there numerous times about break-ins, so I put the cameras up. And no, they didn't know the cameras was there.
Were there any other witnesses to the?
Yes, well, the girlfriend was there and the other police officer.